Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone. And there's a little echo, but I hope it's okay. And I'm here with my dear friend, Brigitte Mars. Hi, Brigitte.
Good morning. Hello, everyone.
Oh, I'm so excited to do this with you because I'm a huge fan. I have almost all your books, although you just came out with 3 more. I have one of them, but amazing, prolific writer and teacher, really, and guide for so many people on how to live a more natural, healthy life. And what I want people to know is Brigitte is a highly experienced herbalist and nutritional consultant with over 50 years in natural health. She teaches herbal medicine at Naropa University, which, if no one knows about Naropa, it is an award-winning Buddhist university. It's, I think, the most prestigious one in the U.S., and at the School of Health Mastery in Iceland. And she's taught at prestigious institutions and festivals worldwide, including the Omega Institute, Esalen, I don't know that one, Kripalu, and Burning Man. What was it like teaching at Burning Man?
Crazy. It's a lot.
So anyway, so if hopefully by the end of all this, you'll get an idea of what a humongous resource Brigitte is. She also has been working at a wonderful, unique pharmacy that was called Pharmaca, where she helped people. They could just come in and pick her brain on resources. And then I guess it's closed and now it's reopened under another name, and you're back, right?
Yes, alive and well. We're delighted.
Yes.
Everyone came back that worked at Pharmaca.
Oh, that's so cool. So basically what we're talking about is you being empowered to know what you could do to work on yourself and to live a vital, happy life. So, Brigitte, why don't you, for the people that are just meeting you, if you could start with your journey to this thirst for knowledge, because, you know, this is quite a passionate study where you know how to go up in the mountains and find natural herbs, and very few people know how to do that. I know when I've come to your house and had tea, you've gone out in the back and picked stinging nettle for me. So could you talk a little bit about your quest for knowledge and the reason you share?
Surely, Kathy. Well, I grew up in upstate New York, and like many Americans, I was a kid that had constant sore throats, ear infections, on antibiotics all the time. But then I would go visit my French Canadian grandmother, and she was one of those wise women that used plant medicine. And so I quickly, I liked folk remedies, which my parents called old wives' tales. Why would you want to do those old wives' tales? That's something poor people did before the turn of the century in the old country. And I said, no, but they really work. And so at a very young, I felt that these folk remedies not only were like something out of a fairy tale, they were available. And again, in Canada, they didn't have, even things like oranges and lemons in the 1950s weren't always available. It came from far away. So I quickly just started studying these folk remedies. And by the time I was in an all-girls boarding school, I had sort of an alternative practice where I was giving folk remedies to my clients, my classmates. Try some chamomile tea for your cramps. Try some, feverfew for your headache. Try some rescue remedy for pre-exam stress. And so I had a little bit of a thing going on there. And then it was just, full speed ahead from there. I lived in the Virgin Islands in St. Croix and learned about harvesting plants from the rainforest, ocean. We would have seaweeds. I lived for 2.5 years in a teepee in the Ozarks, and there, the hillbilly wisdom. I looked at books like Yule Gibbons' Stalking the Wild Asparagus was definitely a great handbook for me. And I came to Boulder in the early 70s to attend Boulder College of Massage so I could learn anatomy, physiology, nutrition. And I studied herbal medicine with William Lassassier, who was a great teacher. And, you know, it's funny, Kathy, I always said growing up, someday I'm going to work on Broadway. And I did. I worked at Alfalfa's Market on Broadway in Arapahoe, and then Pharmaca, Broadway in Alpine. So be careful what you wish for. Be very specific. But all of these years, I got to help people with natural remedies, not just to sell them natural remedies, but to hear what works. You know, people come back and say, boy, that really helped my hay fever. That really helped my teenager's acne. That really helped me to sleep better. And of course, this is a subject one can study their entire life. And, you know, I'm the mother of 2 grown daughters. So having children was also an opportunity to try out these natural remedies with those that you love the best. So I just kept going. And over the years, I've had many teachers, Michael Tierra and William Lassassier and Mindy Green, Kathy Keville, Susan Weed. So keep learning your whole life because there's so many plants. And, you know, when we look at the state of America's health right now, you know, people are being bombarded. You watch an hour of TV, not that we should really, but what do you see? Junk food and pharmaceuticals. Eat this food, take these drugs. That's become the American way. And yet there is another way. And so we don't want to only use herbs to Band-Aid or cover up our ailments. We want to get healthy to begin with, so we don't even need so many remedies. So it's a wonderful process. I feel I get to help the creator, I get to help the planet, I get to help the plants and the people all at the same time.
I love this, and I love, and you are true to all of that. The other part of this is that the opportunity for everyone to really be in tune with themselves more, because I think we grew up in an era where, oh, you have a headache, just take an aspirin. There was better life through drugs and play through drugs. But you know, if you get off of that mindset back to what is my body telling me? What does it need? And the other part of that that I really feel is that so much of the awakening, if you want to call it, this period of awakening for humanity is us facing our traumas, and whether it's generational traumas or the ones that we gave ourselves this lifetime. Thank you very much. We didn't know any better. But all of those are coming to the surface now. And they're packed in our cells. They are in our physical field, in our physical body. So by knowing more about how to use a new book like this, Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health, you're going to find that those traumas that are maybe showing up as a chronic pain, or showing up like with me, my sinuses. I mean, there are certain things that your body's trying to tell you something, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting because in this country, when people have physical problems, they go to one kind of doctor. But when they have mental issues like depression or anxiety or overwhelming grief or dealing with trauma, they go to a different kind of doctor. And yet the body and the mind are connected. And in Asian medicine, we really see that type of connection. And so, you know, depression, I don't think enough people are looking at, could there be a connection between the liver? Could there be a connection with food allergies? Could cause brain inflammation that might make us feel soggy and tired? Is it possible that we have, a heavy metal toxicity? Could it be that we are deficient in certain nutrients? So I really loved that I got to do this book and talk about, the food, the herbs, the supplements, things like feng shui, color therapy, flower essences, essential oils. There's so many inexpensive things that you can even get at a natural food store. If you only knew that that might be able to help you out of some of those emotional turmoil. So so many people are on medication. I've been saying for years, wherever two or more are gathered, one is on probably antidepressants. And yet I don't think we're looking enough at the cause of mental illness. And, we could even look at, Kathy, that we are being bombarded from a very early age where people, not only do they get perhaps infant formula from miserable cows where the formula is put in plastic bottles and then microwaved. I mean, it's a bad start, and not to mention toxic media and pollution and fluoride in the water. There's so many things that are contributing to our dis-ease. So, here's an opportunity to, do something different. And there are a lot of things that we can do. We've given the power of our health over to someone else. And so in writing Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health, there's things you can do. There's things, even if you're a caregiver for someone else, here's an example. Very often when I see people that are depressed, they don't realize that they could wear brighter colors that might cheer them up. They could feng shui their home. We're remodeling our house right now. So there's things everywhere. We just painted the living room. So I realize we're working on our feng shui right now, which is always a work in progress. But the things that we eat, very often we know that allergens, whether it's dairy, gluten, soy, shellfish, peanut butter, we know that they can cause inflammation in our joints, in our skin, in our sinuses, but could also cause inflammation in our brain that might make us feel foggy. So I wrote this book and I wanted to address things. There are things you can do for grief, for anxiety, for fear. And if we look at their connection to the body, there's things that you can do that you don't have to be on medication your whole life. And, if you are on medication, because sometimes it's hard to find your way out of some sort of turmoil, when you decide to get off the medication, you're going to have more tools because you've learned about healthier ways of eating, eat more greens, get good quality fats, get off of the allergens. Maybe there's some supplements that you might find to nourish your brain chemistry. And, one thing that's kind of new in the health world that I certainly didn't know 10 years ago is that a lot of our brain chemicals, our neurotransmitters, are made in our gut. So to think that it's all up here, if we're eating things that we're sensitive to, if we're on pharmaceuticals, if we have poor digestion, poor metabolism, that's going to affect our states of consciousness as well.
That's right. And what we're finding is so much of everything comes down to consciousness. That's what being aware that you create your reality and that you're in the driver's seat to do something about it, rather than giving giving somebody else the keys to the kingdom. That's the whole thing. So when you're teaching, like yesterday, you taught up in Netherlands. When you're teaching, how do you convey the powerful? I mean, I think what you said about your parents saying, "Oh, that's old wives' tales" or whatever. I think a lot of people still don't realize that nature provides everything we need, and you definitely are conveying that. But how do you get that to translate when you teach?
Well, it's always important to know your audience. So yesterday, my group was a bunch of kids, like 10 to 12 years old. And so we had great fun, like eating wild berries, or what to do if you were lost in the woods. You could chew these pine needles and spit out the pulp. So the experience of that, and of course with children, they like stories. So if I could weave it into like, this is why Rapunzel had to be given to the witch, and this is how the violets came to be. So, but I'd say this is something that's really affected me lately. We've all seen pictures on Instagram and Facebook, the magnification of maybe a blade of grass, or just a little fragment of a ladybug's wing or a butterfly's wing or something, right? You've seen pictures like that, right?
Yep.
Where it's just like sacred geometry. Even in the tiniest of things, a little piece of pollen from a flower, there is sacred geometry. There's beauty that we can't create in a lab. A white pill is not going to have the sacred geometry that we see in something that was nourished by the sun, the wind, the rain. And again, natural medicine is for people that are motivated. I think that a lot of people are just going to say, eat this food, take these drugs, I don't want to deal with it. Or they're willing to, listen, let's take high blood pressure, for example. I saw this man at a party. He said, I've got high blood pressure, but my doctor's going to get it down for me. And I thought, well, don't you think you should help get it down? I mean, granted, there's some great doctors out there, but have you tried meditation? Have you tried playing calmer music? I love rock and roll too, but it tends to amp things up. Drinking copious amounts of coffee, eating sugar, eating the things that we're sensitive to, all of that can elevate your blood pressure. So things like there's herbal allies like garlic and hawthorn, backing off the coffee. So there's things we can do if you want to. And I don't have any intention of trying to save everybody or get everyone to do natural medicine. I think most people are just going to do what they're going to do, and that's fine. But there's so many people who are people that listen to your show, Kathy, that want to wake up, they want to help others, they want to live in harmony with this beautiful planet, because natural medicine is good for the environment. What would you rather have in your neighborhood? A field of lavender, or some like big factory spewing out toxic smoke that's contaminating the nearby river?
Right,
I think
right.
it's a no-brainer.
Right. Well, the thing is that this is the time for all of the awareness to go back to what you can do. And part of this, I love this book. I'm going to go through a few things with you. One of the things is that the subtitle says Holistic Methods and Techniques for a Happy and Healthy Mind. And happiness is the key. We forgot right now, especially with it being an election year in the U.S., there's so much high contrast and so much positioning and anger, just plain anger, warrior like this stuff going on that it's not good for your body. It's not good for your psyche. It's not good for your relationships. And whatever's inside projects outside. Well, you think it's someone else, but it's not. It's not, right?
What keeps me going, Kathy, is like, we can look at the news and be like just horrified at violence and crime and missing children and oil spills, but we can all focus on what can I do? And we can all do something. And, it's interesting because I talked about depression very often being liver centered, but so is anger. Anger and depression. In Asian medicine, we say anger is liver fire rising. Like, I just can't process it this way. So it comes out here with my angry words and my angry actions. And then if depression, I can't really get angry because I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to hurt my marriage. So I just get depressed. But creativity is a way to help us transform anger and depression. So maybe one of the things you do is, rather than just keeping it all up here, You write a letter to the editor. You get on a podcast. You write a poem. You write a song. You create a piece of art. You take community action. I remember I was so angry because our local college, CU, had gotten an award for being an environmental college. And I went up there and there were pesticides applied signs everywhere. And so what I did was came home and wrote a letter to the editor and wrote about solutions. And you know what? The next year they didn't spray pesticides. So we can all do something. Of course, pesticides is one of the nemesises because we all know the bees are dying at an alarming rate. And not only do pesticides kill insects and as well as plants like dandelions. We could call them herbicides, but dandelions are sometimes viewed as a pest. I just wrote a book called Dandelion Medicine. They're one of the top 5 most nutritious vegetables. I mean, think about this plant. It's amazing. Why would we kill this plant? So we are in disharmony with our planet right now. And even if you just have a little balcony or a little yard or a little front porch or something, we can all grow something. We could all provide some flowers for the pollinators. And so this is a way of loving ourselves, loving our earth, honoring the creator. But we can all finding ways that we can take action about some of the absurdity and things that we're, finding are unjust in this world. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. Teaching children is a big deal. Having, quality family life, being a good community member. We can all volunteer to do something. We might not be able to save everything, but if we all take on a couple things, for some people, it might be save the rainforest, social justice, help the bees. So find something that you can get passionate about, and that might be where you find your tribe or meet the others.
Yeah. I think that's important. The other thing I wanted to bring up, which you haven't stated yet, but I think you probably could talk all day about it, is the fact that our bodies were meant to interact with things of the earth and not with man-made chemicals. When you're talking about people being bombarded with ads on television, and then it tells you all the side effects that the remedy can do to you, but it can do all this other stuff, and versus using herbal medicine that is part of the ecosystem. Could you talk a little bit about that, about how easily the body absorbs plants and substances versus the pharmaceuticals?
Well, there's this beautiful philosophy in herbal medicine that goes through every culture, whether it be Indian, Chinese, European, and it's called the doctrine of signatures. And it's a philosophy that says the plants tell us what they're good for by the way they look and by the way they grow. So, for example, if we think about the weeds, lowly weeds, look at their survival instinct. Nobody planted the dandelion, but yet it grows. Nobody waters it, weeds it, mulches it. They try to get rid of it by mowing it down, and it comes back. That is a special kind of resiliency, adaptability. So I know we've all heard the saying, like, it's survival of the fittest, but it's also survival of the most adaptable. So most of us are eating plants that take a lot of care to grow. As soon as the frost comes, your zucchini's over, your tomatoes are over, but the dandelions were there before, even if it's going to snow 10 more times, and then they're still going to be there afterwards. So I feel there's a real strength from imbibing plants that have that survival instinct. I mean, that's a big thing too. And yet we also want to look at, these are things that our ancestors used, that dandelions were brought here deliberately. They're native to Eurasia. And the pioneers brought them here and put fences around them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, to keep the rabbits and the deers from eating a good thing. So somehow we've gotten into thinking, that things need to be refined. But when you start eating wild food, whether it be wild berries, I collected a bowl full of wild mulberries this morning off a tree in my yard. When, look how fresh that is. These mulberries did not come from, Brazil or Chile. They were growing right a few minutes ago in the neighborhood. So we're getting local, fresh. We're saving thousands of dollars a year by eating wild food. That means we can perhaps afford to buy even better quality, the things that we might need to have others produce for us. So fresh, free, vital, colorful, local, less trucking, less fuel, and the fact that these plants require a lot less water, weeding, mulching. They're survivors. And so if we want to be able to survive all the perils of our planet right now, I think learning to eat the weeds is one of the answers. So all I can say is I feel amazing. I love to turn people on to this. To me, it is a really great mission because I do feel it is the solution. And, many people already know this around the world. Purslane, another weed, people think they need to weed it out of their garden, but it was Gandhi's favorite food. It's really high in omega-3s that are good for our brain. So if you want to learn about it, there's so many ways to learn. We've got books, we've got podcasts, we've got, information streaming at us. So don't just let them bombard you with junk food for the mind. Learn to take action because it's good for everybody.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much. I think it's also, I just want to share about it's digestible. When you buy things that are at the grocery store that may have come from somewhere else, that may had to be processed or sprayed with something to get into the country. I mean, it's a whole different thing than buying your local zucchini or your local tomatoes, or I'm growing tomatoes. But I think that's a big thing too, that your body is designed to work with natural products versus being designed to have side effects from other products. That's all. I want to. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, it's almost kind of like God made plants. Humans made pharmaceuticals. Like it's not to say that pharmaceuticals can't save lives. We are so blessed to live in a time where if you're in an accident, there's great help out there. So it's not us and them, but
Right.
If we think about the age of Aquarius is about using the best of the ancient world along with the modern world. I mean, we're broadcasting through the wonders of modern technology, but we don't want to forget the ancient wisdom. And a lot of those old wives' tales are pretty darn smart.
Yep. Well, and I think what we're talking about too is, again, an attitude. Like I don't think you don't have a big garden. You go out and you know how to pick things out of what's already growing. You took the kids out yesterday up in the mountains, and you take herb walks, and you show people, no, that's not a weed, that's food. That we're totally not aware of it because it's not wrapped up in plastic at the grocery store. And that knowledge is so important for right now, where people may have a fear of what the future holds for them. And this is one more calming effect that will help them get through and be able to make a conscious choice, not from stress or fear, but from a grounded place. What I wanted to do real quick is because I wanted to read this first testimonial in your book, and then I have a bookmark where something else is to ask you. But I want people to know, so this is for the Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health. This is from Roy Upton, president of the American Herbal Pharma. How do you say that?
Pharmacological?
No, PIA. or something.
Pharmacopoeia. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Greek to me. Okay. For all things herbal and healing, I'm an avid Brigitte Mars fan. In this work with Christine Feldler, Brigitte weaves into herbal healing, magic, spirit, clinical science, practical applications, and guidance like few others. Brigitte's work is about transformation, inspiration, and guiding people in how to become their best self based on real world clinical experience. Brigitte and Crystal's guidance to improve mental and emotional health is so needed in our current times. This work will be an invaluable tool for those willing to start their journey towards true well-being. And Well, he understood how valuable this is about us getting back into a place of co-creation with each other. Because if you're out of balance, you can't co-create, or you're co-creating from a distorted viewpoint. And that's really not going to help us go forward, right?
Mm-mm. No, there's so much that we can do, because I think people feel powerless. There's nothing I can do. I'm depressed. And yet, this book, Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health, says you've got affirmation, you've got color, you've got food, you've got herbs, you've got flower essences, even just like smelling an essential oil.
What is that one?
Well, this one's called Balance by doTERRA, but, I have a plethora of them here. Lavender, if you were to have one essential oil, lavender is really good for calming anxiety, because our nasal cavities are so close to our brain. Just by smelling something, it can help alter. Do you want to go down Freak Out Freeway, or do you want to go down Lavender Lane? So, and that's a simple thing. And we know that breathing helps, breathing exercises. We know that, good posture. We know that calming colors. If I were really, needing to be active, I might choose to wear something bright and red. If I were depressed, I might not wear gray every day. If I needed to have mental alertness going on, I might choose more like yellow colors.
Right.
If I needed to calm my stress, I might dress in blue. So color's another thing, getting outdoors in full spectrum light. So none of these are things that are not, they're all been researched. We know that light enters our eyes and it affects our neurotransmitters, our hormones, our moods. And we live in a time where you can order these things. You can get them at your natural food store. You can collect them in your yard. You can order them online. You can find a holistic practitioner who can help guide you. And I also love that in this book, let's say you learn like, oh, it sounds like I need more magnesium so I don't have that restless leg syndrome, or my 12-year-old doesn't have growing pains. You can look up, well, what foods are high in magnesium? What foods are high in lithium or boron? So there's something for everybody to empower you, which I know what is your show is all about, that there's things we can do that are simple, available, and I love this, time tested very often by millions of people for thousands of years. And I've worked in a pharmacy long enough to know that a lot of the latest drugs end up being recalled. So
Right. Well, the other thing I think is your attitude, and that's what you've shown us all along during this whole interview, the can-do attitude versus the you're not a victim, you get to be the creator of your life and you get to choose. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't have enough money to buy good stuff, and then your answer is, well, if you get this book, get the dandelion book, you can go get dandelions anytime you want. Come to my yard. But I think that's what we're just not aware. A lot of people are not aware of the availability. Just like you went and picked berries this morning, they walk right past them. They walk right past the plants, right?
Yeah, or they spray, they throw them away, the apples that are falling on the ground, and then they go to the store to buy apples from another continent that are, out of season, that are pesticided. So, I'm really big on planting fruit trees. There's a proverb I heard: the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now. And so, like, I love the last time I was in Germany, like you walk a block and there's a plum tree, a pear tree, an apple tree, a peach tree. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Why not do that as a way of improving the health? And not to mention, the trees help to provide oxygen for the planet. They help to counteract some of the carbon monoxide that we're all having to deal with. So it really is a win-win situation to plant trees. And once you plant them, they come back year after year. Once you get them going the first year or two, they really are kind of self-providing, not to mention that it can be a habitat for the birds up high and a habitat for the bunny rabbits and little foxes down below.
Yes, yeah. So, well, this year the peach tree and the apple tree didn't make it. So I'm hoping I was at someone's house the other day and their apple tree had little apples on it. I was like, I'm coming over here.
All the fruit trees, they have to take a break, like, okay, we're not working this year. This year we're holding our results.
I missed my peach tree. My neighbor is from Iowa and she planted Colorado Palisade pits. And we now have trees. It's amazing. She's amazing gardener. Amazing. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, okay. So what you would say to people that feel like this is difficult, what would you say? Because it's like learning a new skill set to learn how to take care of yourself. If you were buying 1-a-day vitamins at the grocery store and you had never been trained on eating lots of green foods or being a vegetarian or watching your diet at all, how would you encourage them to take up this as a hobby?
Well, one thing that I think would be important, I read with a yellow highlighter. So let's say you read this book, rather than like trying to memorize it, I would read it with a yellow highlighter. And that way I'd say, oh, maybe that's something I could try. Maybe that's something I could try. And then after you've read a book, and I do this with every book, you kind of go through it and look over what you highlighted. Now, here's a dilemma for a lot of people. A few years ago, when I was writing my book, Addiction Free Naturally, I realized, gosh, Brigitte, you didn't get outdoors today. You didn't take your supplements. I don't think you used your water pick. And I was like feeling kind of bad. You drank a lot of chai today. So what I did was I made a list of all the healthy things I could do in a day's time. Okay, dry brush skin massage, aromatherapy, take your supplements, clean something, either a shelf or a cupboard. Okay, so it's a big, long list. And then I realized I don't have time to do all that every day. But remember in like grade school, maybe we had a list on the refrigerator: make your bed, take out the trash, set the table. So my suggestion is make a list of all the healthy things you can do in a day's time. You're not going to have time to do them all. And then write the days of the week and strive for something reasonable. Like I did 7 or 10 healthy things today. I ate a salad. I drank some herbal tea. I took my supplements. I took my herbs. Maybe I cleaned something. Maybe I listened to a self-help podcast. So then you start feeling like, wow, I'm getting better, rather than being demeaning to ourselves about what we didn't do. Make a list. It worked when we were in elementary school. So that's one of my ways of getting people motivated to do it. It might even be, wear a healing color. And then we should also think about, where do we put our consciousness? Because if you're spending a lot of time watching TV, we're bombarded with shows about
murderers and pedophiles and cannibals. It's like, why did they get a movie made about them? Like, we need to look at, what I'm reading or watching, is it elevating me? Are the people that I'm hanging out with elevating me, bringing out the best in me? These are all choices we get to make. And these choices don't really have to cost anything.
Right. That's what your worldview is the first place. And then patting yourself on the back for the little things. That was a great idea. Just start small and start being just aware of what you're doing right rather than not. So I wanted to ask about chapter 15, which is about fatigue, because I think that's a common issue that people are having right now. That's part of the disempowerment feeling, is that they feel tired and they really don't feel like they can handle one more thing, or they're at that point of, I'm just juggling too much. Although for me, I like that. I mean, I'm not ADHD, but I like having lots of possibilities, and I'm a change agent. But not everyone likes change. Not everyone likes variety and is excited about what they're going to get to do when they wake up in the morning. So could you talk a little bit? One of the things I saw this morning, I was looking through this, was that you can touch your ears on your acupressure points on your both ears, and it makes your mind clear. I use sound a lot of times. I use frequencies behind the scenes while I'm working to keep my mind going, and brain activation sounds. But could you talk a little bit about fatigue? Because I think fatigue and lack of sleep, but fatigue first, is a big issue for people.
That's a great question, Kathy. Thank you for asking that. So there's a saying in Chinese medicine, an hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight. So, maybe you try to go to bed earlier so that your organs, like your liver, can do a better job of cleansing itself and rebuilding. Now, I do think a lot of people wake up tired, and we should be looking at that. People might have food hangovers, not just hangovers from drinking, but overeating refined carbohydrates, ice cream, things that are sugary, starchy. That could be a problem right there. So I love, and I don't do this every day, but I do it at least several times a week. I start my day with lemon and water, because the sour flavor of the lemon activates the liver. I do drink yerba mate, which does have some caffeine in it, but I find it's energizing, clarifying, motivating, mildly laxative. So I do like that. But coffee's like a once in a while thing. All right. So then we want to look at, what are we eating? Are we eating, it's funny, people microwave their food and then they say, I'm zapped. Mm-hmm. They eat fried food and they say, I'm fried.
Wow.
I'm fried, zapped, baked, which might be something different in Boulder, and toasted. I'm fried, zapped, baked, and toasted. So think about eating more fresh. I'm going to eat these mulberries in a little bit. So I want to go for fresh, alive, vital. All right? And I do find that people who microwave their food are often very tired. All right, so we're going to look at that. We're going to start eating more of the colors of the rainbow. So I'm going to go for orange peaches, red watermelon, green kale, black rice, because the American diet is rather beige. Bread and pasta and muffins and cookies. It's like, make your diet more colorful. I'm not saying you can't occasionally have a cookie or a piece of cake, but, go for eating color. And our bodies love greens. Like, green is the middle of the color spectrum. So, eating greens is a discipline. So we're going to do that for tired. You could smell essential oil of peppermint. You're feeling like, another thing that I did the other day. All right. You can put some peppermint oil in a little spray bottle of water, I made this for a friend who was having hot flashes the other day, and she was like exhausted. And I just said, close your eyes and mouth, take off your glasses, and mist yourself with a little water, a bottle of water with maybe 10 drops of essential oil of peppermint. Peppermint's invigorating. You could play music that's upbeat. You could clear clutter. And again, forgive my clutter. Know that I'm remodeling my living room right now. But clearing clutter so you don't feel overwhelmed. I'm also really big on having a day planner. So you write down your goals and you write down everything. You say, I'm going to send you that link. I'm going to send you that song. I'll connect you with my friend. Write it down. If you think it, ink it, because it's so easy to feel like jambalaya up here, like, oh, there's so many things I can't even keep track. I'm forgetting everything. But if you write it down, that's like having extra RAM. And when you get to be like, 50 and over, like the hard drive's getting a little full. So, and then the other trick is to always have your day planner. I call mine a day tripper, being a Beatles fan. Always have it with you. How many like potluck dinners or free yoga classes or your friends going to a movie together did you miss? I forgot. But if you write it down, I brought my day planner to a little dinner party a few weeks ago, and I happened to be sitting next to a friend of ours, Tiero Lee, and he said, "Are you available such and such a day? Would you like to teach at this, great music festival?" Yeah, let me get my book. Let's book it rather than let it be a nebulous thing. So I think that that's a good thing that helps to keep me energized. Color, when we want to have more energy, wearing bright colors like red and orange and hot pink could be energizing. Are we drinking enough water? And there's also this thing of where people feel foggy, soggy, and groggy. Foggy, soggy, and groggy. Well, if you're eating a lot of allergenic foods that are causing brain inflammation, you might really feel foggy. I had a client, a CU student, who told me, "I am tired every day. It doesn't matter how good the class is, I fall asleep in class. And it's always in the afternoon." And I said, "So what do you eat?" And I always ask my clients to keep a food journal. So every day, tuna sandwich, avocado sandwich, roast beef sandwich, egg salad sandwich. I said, "Why don't you just have tuna salad, avocado salad, egg salad, whatever, and skip the bread and see if that doesn't help?" And that helped. I also have my Naropa students, if they're falling asleep, they probably were up too late, but smell some peppermint oil, smell some lemon essential oil. It goes right to your brain. It invigorates you. So those are a few ideas of feeling more energized, but there's supplements you can do. Are you anemic? Do you need to increase your iron and vitamin B12. Sometimes vegetarians are deficient in B12. Are you eating enough greens? So these are all things that are pretty easy to figure out. And I try to make it really accessible in my book so that you can at least find, 4 or 5 things for, every health issue that you have. You don't have to do all of them, but pick 4 or 5 things, and that might be a game changer. Maybe there's an herbal tea you want to include. Maybe there's a practice. And we all know that breathing deep is going to fuel our brain and increase our mental acuity. But again, it might start with letting go of the microwave so that you don't feel zapped.
That was great. And you did a lot of what's in the book. The thing is the dandelion is in here too. Under fatigue, healing herbs, ashwagandha, dandelion root, ginkgo, ginseng, licorice root. I don't know this berry, and your yerba mate. So dandelion root, how do you prepare that, or do you only buy it in a pill?
No, I mean, I eat dandelion leaves in the spring, and then in the,
They're kind of bitter, aren't they?
you harvest the dandelion leaves in the spring. And then, another thing I did with my class, you can boil the stems in water and then strain it and then toss it with olive oil and garlic and make dandelion noodles. That's great. And then the flowers you can eat, they're high in lutein. And then in the fall, you dig up the root, and I usually saute it and marinate it. I might saute it. I might put it in a dehydrator with a marinade like tamari and toasted sesame oil. So there's like all kinds of recipes and things you can do with dandelion. Yes, you can buy it, but you can also learn to be a harvester. Why not?
Oh.
You do. And people are often wondered, like, well, I don't know if pesticides have been sprayed. Ideally, we don't want to collect wild food from within 50 feet of a busy road. And we also want to be cognizant of, if they've sprayed pesticides, you don't want to eat those foods for at least 2 years. But we got to start somewhere. So if you've been a sprayer, like, stop doing it. You're contributing to the, demise of the bees and other creatures and the demise of the soil microorganisms. But dandelion, every part of the plant is edible and useful. But you can go to the store and buy a dandelion tea already made. And maybe that's one way you like to do it. I like the leaves for the health of the kidneys and the health of the blood, because it's high in iron and magnesium. And then the root of the dandelion is more for depression and energy. And there's teas. If you go to the health food store, you're going to find leaf and root in a tea bag. So there's something for everybody. You don't have to go and reinvent the wheel and, drive miles to go find the countryside. There's so many alternatives, and I really try to make it easy for everybody.
Oh yeah, you do. In fact, that's what's amazing. And you kind of, as you go through this book, you'll see, like I earmarked that one. There's so many different ways for you to take responsibility for what's happening, and do a little private eye work with yourself, just like Brigitte said. Try see what's going on, and eliminate a few things out of your diet. Go to sleep earlier. The other thing that I think is chronic in our society is the sleep issues. And I can blame mine on my cats that somehow at 5 o'clock in the morning, doesn't matter what time I go to sleep, at 5 something, one of them definitely wants some attention, and it'll scratch you until it gets it. But anyway, they trained me. So, but I think that, do you want to talk a little bit about sleep real quick too? And because it's a little different than fatigue.
Yes. So the sleep thing is a huge issue. So a couple easy things to get started with. I like to stop eating 3 hours before bed, because people will eat until bedtime. Not only does that make you gain weight, so one of my disciplines is right after an early dinner, I do my best, do all my dental hygiene, the flossing, the brushing, the water pick, all the stuff. So the kitchen is closed. At my age, I don't like to, I drink a lot of water during the day, but I'm going to refrain from drinking too close to bedtime, because that's going to make me have to get up more. And I know this is a problem for men, certainly, as their prostates enlarge as they get older, but could be a problem for women too. So stop eating and drinking 3 hours for bed. Another really simple thing to do that doesn't cost anything is look at the weather, what's it going to be tomorrow, and get ready for the next day the night before. I'm going to lay out my clothes. And I think if you have kids, you'll probably have a lot less drama in the morning if they've laid out their clothes, rather than you are not going to school dressed like that, or you don't have socks that match, or that skirt is too short. But I lay out my clothes, but I also am going to look in my day planner and see, what am I doing tomorrow? Oh, I better put that aside. I'm going to lay it outside. Books to return to the library, papers to take to the lawyer, things that I want to bring with me to work. I'm going to bring some spider plants to my team at work tomorrow, so they can all take home a little baby spider plant. So I put it in action because when people start their morning in a tizzy, because you've got 50 things to do, what if you've already soaked the beans? You've already, maybe you've even packed a healthy lunch, because people will lay there awake in their beds thinking about, what am I going to wear? What am I going to have for lunch? I need to remember to bring the books back to the library. But what if you've already done that? Now you can be a lot more peaceful. Okay, so another thing we can do to help sleep is a lavender bath before bed. So I'm very water conscious. I often will just take the water from my bath, especially if I haven't washed my hair, and give the water to the plants on the balcony. But a few drops, 7 drops of lavender in the bath. Lavender is very calming. And then a very dark room. I find that sleeping with eye shades helps a lot. After teaching in Iceland, where it's light all night long, 3 in the morning, it looks like it's time to get up, but it's only 3 in the morning. I found, whoa, if I just wear an iPad, we think that we're in a dark room, but then there's the cell phone charger or the computer or the street lights or the night lights or the smoke alarm. So blocking out the light is really helpful. And then, of course, there's herbal things we could do. We could take a magnesium supplement before bed. We could take some herbs like valerian or kava kava or passion flower. I have found that a lot of times the herbal remedies that they sell at the health food store are very moderate in their dosage. So if you try taking 2, you might need to take 4. We also have the option in most of our states of taking CBD. CBD can help sleep, but we've got magnesium, which is a vitamin. We've got herbs like valerian and kava kava and passion flower. And then we've got CBD, which is an herb. Melatonin is a hormone, so I'm not really on the bandwagon of taking that. If there's other things we can do, I might only use that for traveling across the ocean or something to reset our biological clock. But blocking out the light and then thinking of nothing but the in and out of your breathing, just breathing. If you think about that cute person at work or, that exciting movie you saw, that's going to wake you up. And I'm also big on acupressure. So I love TikTok. I just learned this thing. Let me see if I can do it. This is a little technique to help you sleep. You do this during the day. Okay. And then I also learned this thing. Let's see if I can show you. You rub your ankles together. I think I'm going to fall over if I do it. You rub your ankles together, ankle against ankle, and it lowers your blood pressure. You use one ankle to rub against the other ankle, and it calms you down. And I find wow, that's a great technique. So those 2 are not in the book, but those are some other things to do. But I do have a lot of acupressure techniques, color, aroma. So
that's great. Great. I want everyone to get a copy of this, and this may be the perfect gift to give at Christmas or birthdays this year, because everyone needs this. And just like you want to have certain things in your cupboard, you want to have this on the shelf so that you can really help people, because there is a lot. We're in a transition period of our lives, and we all stood in line to be here at this time. So why not make it more joyful and healthy and vibrant by knowing how to take care of yourself? And it's fun. Actually, most of the things in here are actually fun. They aren't like I've got to do this kind of feel to them. It's like, let's play with this.
It's loving yourself, loving this earth, loving humanity, and loving God.
Yep. What's wrong with that? So, Brigitte, how is the best way for people to get a hold of you? I know this is on Amazon, and I do have your website in the description, but could you explain how people can find you?
Surely, BrigitteMars.com. I have a beautiful new website, and I do private consultations. I do Zoom consults with people all around the world. I teach, and I've actually written 18 books. And I'm big on YouTube and TikTok. TikTok's been my platform lately. I really like it. They better not ban it.
well, the thing is, shorts really are straight and to the point, and then after that, you may want to go see the whole video if there's, like, we've been doing shorts of these that really helps people get a little glimpse of what the conversation's about. So, well, thank you so much. Bless you. I hope I get to play with you again. I saw you not too long, last month, I think, but I hope I get to see you again soon. So
thank you so much to you and your listeners. Many blessings. Thank you, Kathy, for all the great work you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Please share, you guys. Please share.